And what are some of the challenges you see facing youth today, both in Uganda and all over the place?
Challenges facing youth in Uganda and other parts of the world. I mean, in Uganda, I think it's very clear. Right now, 50% of the population in Uganda is under the age of 15, which is an incredible statistic. I think Uganda is either the youngest or the second youngest population in the world. And when 1 out of 2 people in the country are under the age of 15, and the country is already facing many issues, environmental degradation is one that comes to mind first, in the sense of deforestation. As the population grows, there's more and more strains on the land, more and more demand for firewood, more and more demand for resources, things like that. But also, this massive young population is going to enter the working world pretty soon, and very soon, and needs to have some sort of employment or some sort of livelihood. And it's these factors which we're trying to, rather than, if we do nothing, then there's no system set up, there's nothing there that's going to help this massive number of young people to become part of the solution to these problems. And if we do nothing, then those problems are only going to get worse as the population grows and ages. And so we're trying to kind of model that system and then really work to scale it out by collaborating with the government, scale out a system that prepares the next generation to address these issues. Because they're there to do so, the right experience, the right motivation, the right encouragement, then they're going to really have to learn on the go. They're going to hit the real world. They're going to finish their education if they get a chance to go to school, and then they're going to have to learn on the run. And that's going to slow down their ability to find solutions to these issues considerably. So, that's the challenge facing the next generation here is something that we often say is that the biggest injustice facing Uganda or other parts of the world in a similar situation to Uganda is not necessarily poverty or environmental degradation or HIV/AIDS or corruption, but rather it's that the education system as it's set up currently doesn't prepare students to address those larger issues. And that's a greater injustice than a severe form of poverty, because if the next generation isn't prepared to do something about it, then that severe poverty is only going to get worse a generation from now. And around the world, it's similar. In many parts of the developing world, youth are facing a similar situation as youth here in Uganda. So we do hope that a version of this type of education can be applied in other countries as a means of preparation for youth really around the world as well.
Great. And following up, this is the last question. What advice do you have for a young person who wants to get involved in their community or youth mobilization? What would you tell them?
Yeah, especially if it's for young people kind of in the States. We, growing up in a place like the U.S. or other parts of the developed world, we have so many choices about what to do with our lives, and oftentimes we have a lot of kind of motivation to do something good for the world, but we don't always have, but we don't always know what the right direction or the right path to take is, and oftentimes we can kind of get lost. It's like when you're faced with 10 different roads to go down, it's hard to choose the one that's best because you can't see what's at the end of any of those roads. And so I think the important piece of advice, which is something that I've learned with the help of a lot of great mentors and things like that, is that none of those roads are likely going to be perfect. Some of them might be. But the important thing is that you just choose one and go with it and really commit yourself to that path. Because doing so, we're going to be able to learn a lot as we move down that path. We're going to be able to learn a lot as we go down that road and are able to see more and learn more and meet more people and speak with more people about what we're doing. Whereas if we never even start, we won't have that chance to learn. And as we learn, as we make that commitment to go down a specific road, to choose a specific path, and learn from it, we can always adjust the path that we're on based on what we're learning. But if we never take that first step of just kind of jumping in and doing something, even if it doesn't seem perfect, doing something, then we aren't going to be able to get to step 2 and to step 3 and to step 4, which is where we'll start to really be able to kind of align what we love to do with something that is going to be beneficial and helpful for the world too. So I think that's the best advice that I've learned, is that with all these things, we don't know where they're going to end up. We don't know if they're going to be effective or exactly what we want. But the important thing is that we really just jump in and try it, and then learn from it as we're going.